This video introduces the hours of service regulations, explains duty statuses, and the rules around the 30-minute break. Carrier and driver responsibilities in complying with these regulations will also be outlined. When you complete this video, you will be able to describe the basic limits outlined in the hours of service regulations. Explain your responsibilities in following the hours of service regulations. Explain the rules regarding the 30-minute break. When do the regulations apply? You can look at the regulations as having two parts: the rules that cover how much time you can work, and the electronic logging device, ELD, where your duty status is recorded to make sure the rules are applied. Note, you may use your paper-based logbook to record your duty status in the event your ELD malfunctions or when you're operating under certain exemptions to the rules. Commerce refers to the buying and selling of goods and services. The regulations apply to a commercial motor vehicle involved in interstate commerce, weighing 10,001 pounds or more, including any load, or interstate commerce with a gross vehicle weight rating or gross combination weight rating of 10,001 pounds or more, or interstate or intrastate commerce, and transporting hazardous materials in a quantity requiring placards. When you alternate between intrastate and interstate commerce, you must indicate all the driving time on your record of duty status. This will account for all on-duty time for the prior 7 or 8 days preceding an interstate movement. When your trailer is empty or you are deadheading, your truck is still considered to be in commerce because it is being used to support a business. You are still expected to follow the applicable regulations. Henry is involved in interstate commerce because he is traveling through multiple states. Daily log responsibilities. As a driver, you and Henry must ensure all required information is in the record of duty status and certify that it's accurate. In addition, you must keep any supporting documents, bills of lading, trip records, expense receipts, etc., have current daily logs and all logs for the preceding 7 days, a total of 8 days, and be able to provide these logs to the inspector upon request. Send each original daily log and all supporting documents to the carrier's home terminal within 13 days of completing it. Notify the carrier of ELD malfunctions within 24 hours and take the appropriate actions to remain compliant. Carrier Safety Manager James must keep all daily logs and supporting documents readily available for inspection for at least 6 months. He also makes sure that all company drivers and owner-operators comply with the regulations. The driver has a copy of the daily logs for the preceding 7 days and the current day's log. The current log must be completed up to the last change in the driver's duty status. He provides training and documentation for ELDs and addresses any device malfunctions. When you work for more than one motor carrier during a 24-hour period, you must make extra copies and give a copy of your log to each motor carrier. The log must include all duty time for the entire 24-hour period, the name of each carrier you worked for during the 24-hour period, the start and end time, including AM or PM, worked for each carrier. You and Henry have additional responsibilities regarding the use of an ELD. You must keep ELD user instructions and supplies in your vehicle and be able to do the following: log in, respond to unassigned driver hours in the ELD records, record duty status changes, edit and annotate records, certify records to indicate they are complete and accurate, access, review, and transfer ELD data. Your carrier's responsibilities. Carriers must equip vehicles with registered ELDs and provide training as well as ELD user instructions and supplies for you to carry in your vehicle. Carriers must retain the original ELD logs for at least 6 months, along with the associated supporting documents. The ELD information must be securely stored to protect your privacy. Carriers must provide you access to those records upon request for 6 months. Log in. You must have only one driver account with a carrier, with a unique identification number and password. If you are an owner-operator, you must have a single account as a driver and a separate account for administrative functions, setting up user accounts, etc. Respond to unassigned driver hours. When there are hours recorded in the ELD that are not assigned to a duty status, make sure you review this time and add it to your record of duty status, or add a note to explain the unassigned hours are not yours. Record duty status changes. The ELD will automatically switch to driving status once the vehicle is moving. You must know how to change your status once you have stopped driving or need to change to a special status such as personal use of the commercial motor vehicle or yard move. Edit and annotate records. You must know how to edit and annotate your records. When you make an error in your record of duty status, you can make an edit, but you then have to add an annotation explaining why the edit was made. You may not edit or change driving time, ELD malfunctions, vehicle engine power up and shut down, and driver logins and logouts. You must approve any edit or annotation made by your carrier. Certify records. You must know how to certify your record of duty status, which states that it is correct and true. Once you certify your record, it may not be edited again. However, your fleet manager may make an edit, but in that case, you will have to check the edit or annotation and then certify it again. This process protects you from having your record of duty status edited without your knowledge. Access and review and transfer ELD data. You must be able to access data from your ELD, review it on the ELD display, and/or print out the information. During roadside inspection, you must know how to transfer your ELD data by email or through a Bluetooth connection to an inspector upon request. Supporting documents. Each document that you use to support your record of duty status must contain the following information: driver name or carrier-assigned identification number on the document or on another document that allows the carrier to link the first document to you, the driver. This can include a unit number if that number is linked to you. Date, location, including the name of the nearest city, town, or village. Time. When there are less than 8 supporting documents, a document without time information can be used. You are only allowed to use one ELD at the same time for the same period. However, you may use more than one ELD unit over the course of a day or over a 7-day period. When your carrier uses more than one ELD to record your duty status, i.e., when you switch vehicles, the current ELD you are using must be able to produce on demand a complete ELD report for the current 24-hour period and the previous 7 consecutive days. When the devices are not compatible, you must either manually enter the missing duty status information or keep a printout of this information with you. When you work for more than one motor carrier, you may be able to transfer your ELD data when both devices are compatible. When they devices are not compatible, you must either manually add your hours of service to the ELD for the current period and/or previous 7 days, or keep a printout of this information from the other motor carrier's ELD. Check with your carriers for more information. You are required to keep ELD user instructions and supplies in your vehicle, which your carrier must provide. These include your printed or electronic ELD user manual, a printed or electronic instruction sheet for transferring hours of service records to safety officials, a printed or electronic instruction sheet on reporting ELD malfunctions and record-keeping procedures during ELD malfunctions, a supply of paper tracking forms, grid graphs, for at least 8 days in case of an ELD malfunction. As you complete your daily inspections, make sure you check for these items as well. Handling ELD malfunctions. Like all technology, your ELD device may malfunction at some point. You may see an error message or other notification. ELDs are required to detect malfunctions related to power, data synchronization, missing data, timing, positioning, data recording, data transfer, and unidentified driver records. The ELD will tell you when these events have occurred and whether the event has been cleared. Always follow the ELD manufacturer's guidelines on how to resolve these events, and notify your carrier when you are unable to do this. Your carrier is responsible for correcting an ELD malfunction, but it is your responsibility to report it in writing within 24 hours. When your ELD malfunctions, always refer to your carrier's instruction sheet on the specific procedures to follow. These should include: 1. Document the malfunction. Use the process your company is following. 2. Immediately reconstruct the record of duty status for the current 24-hour period and the previous 7 consecutive days. 3. Continue to log your time manually using paper logs until the ELD is serviced and back in compliance. Note: if you receive a new ELD, make sure you have the records of duty status for the last 7 days and the current period loaded onto the device, or Keep your paper records for that period. Important: you may only use a paper log, i.e., a log that is recorded manually, for no more than 8 days after the malfunction or risk being placed out of service. You may only do this once in a 30-day period. Supporting documents: you are required to keep in paper or digital format all supporting documents generated during the regular course of business. These documents should include your name, the date, your location, and the time so that they verify your record of duty status. These documents can include bills of lading or schedules with the starting and ending location for each trip, dispatch or trip records, expense receipts for meals, lodging, fuel, etc., fleet management system communication records, payroll records or settlement sheets. Note: when you're keeping paper logs, you must also keep toll receipts. Tip: use an organizer to keep your supporting documents for each trip. This makes it easier for you to submit them. Duty status limits. Hours of service regulations, HOS, measure 1 day as a 24-hour period. Each day, you will always have 3 types of duty status. On-duty time, 14 consecutive hours. The 14 consecutive hour duty period begins when you start any kind of work after 10 consecutive hours off duty. After 14 hours, you cannot drive again until you have been off duty for another 10 hours. You can perform other duties as long as you don't drive. Driving time, 11 total hours. During the 14 consecutive hour duty period, you may drive for up to 11 total hours. Once you have reached that limit, you must go off duty for 10 consecutive hours before driving again. Off-duty time, 10 consecutive hours plus 30-minute break after 8 hours of driving. Along with the 10 consecutive hour rule, you must take breaks as you drive so you are not driving continuously for 11 hours. If you use a sleeper berth during your off-duty time, it must be recorded separately on the daily log. You must take a 30 consecutive minute break after driving for a period of 8 hours. You do not have to take the break to remain on duty, only when you wish to keep driving. Note: the 30-minute break can be satisfied by any non-driving period of 30 minutes, including off-duty, sleeper berth, or on-duty time. You may take your off-duty time in a parked commercial motor vehicle. The 30-minute break cannot be less than 30 minutes. It must be included in the 14 consecutive hour duty period and cannot be added on afterward. And do the activities. Sometimes Henry logs his time under the wrong status when he's waiting at a dock or waiting for a roadside repair. On-duty time means all time from when you begin to work or are required to be in readiness to work until the time you are relieved from work and all responsibility for performing work. In order for time to be considered off-duty, you and Henry must be free to pursue activities of your own choosing and be able to leave the place where your vehicle is parked. On-duty activities include vehicle inspections, vehicle care and maintenance, waiting for dispatch, loading and unloading, traveling as a passenger, performing other work, drug and alcohol testing, and the 30-minute break. Vehicle inspection activities include inspecting the vehicle, checking the vehicles, load securement, waiting for a vehicle, or load to be inspected at the customs office or roadside weigh station. Vehicle care and maintenance activities include starting the vehicle, repairing the truck or trailer yourself while waiting for repairs, obtaining roadside assistance, attending a disabled commercial motor vehicle while waiting for assistance, washing the vehicle, or waiting while it is washed. Waiting for dispatch. Waiting activities include waiting to be dispatched to the carrier's terminal, waiting to be dispatched at a shipper or receiver's property, plant, terminal facility, or on any other public property unless your carrier has relieved you from duty. Loading and unloading. Loading and unloading activities include loading or unloading the vehicle yourself, supervising the loading or unloading of your vehicle, remaining in readiness to operate the vehicle, giving or receiving receipts for loaded or unloaded shipments, traveling as a passenger. When you travel as a passenger in a commercial motor vehicle, it is considered on-duty time unless you are a member of a team using the sleeper berth exceptions. Performing other work. Other work activities include performing yard moves, performing any work for the carrier or a driver employed by the carrier, example, giving or receiving training or driving a company car. Performing any work for any person who is not a carrier, Example, a part-time job in a restaurant. Drug and alcohol testing. Drug and alcohol testing activities include all the time spent providing a breath, saliva, or urine sample for drug and alcohol testing, including travel to and from the collection site. 30-minute break. When you take a break from driving that is at least 30 minutes, you may perform on-duty activities as long as you are not driving. The 30-minute break. According to the FMCSA, research has found taking a break from driving can significantly lower your risk of an incident in the hour following that break. Any type of break from driving is beneficial, whether you spend it off-duty or on-duty by completing other non-driving activities. Because of this research, the hours of service rule includes a 30-minute break that must be taken after you have reached 8 hours of driving time if you wish to continue to drive. The 8 hours does not have to be consecutive. In addition, the break is counted as part of your 14 consecutive hour on-duty period. The driver does not get 14 hours of on-duty time in addition to the 30-minute break. Rather, the break is taken out of the driver's 14 available hours. The break must be at least 30 consecutive minutes. Splitting your 30-minute break into 2 shorter periods will not qualify. Short breaks of fewer than 30 minutes will be included as part of your 8 driving hours. The break can be satisfied by any non-driving activity. You may spend it off-duty, in your sleeper berth, or on-duty but not driving. You may remain on duty past the 8th hour. You do not need to take a break to remain on duty as long as you do not drive until you have taken the 30-minute break. Here is a scenario in a daily log of how that would look like. In this example, the driver should have taken a 30-minute break 15 minutes earlier. The 15-minute break the driver took after 4 hours of driving does not qualify as a break because it is fewer than 30 consecutive minutes. You do not need to drive for 8 hours before you take a break. Let's look at the example shown here. Henry spends 1 hour loading at the beginning of the day and has a 10-hour drive ahead. He takes a break after 5 hours of driving. Henry chooses to go off-duty for 30 minutes, but he has the option to use this time to complete other on-duty activities. After the break, he continues driving for another 5 hours. He spends 2.5 hours unloading before going off-duty again. Note, it is important to remember that if Henry takes a break too early in his duty period, he will need to take 2 30-minute breaks. In this example, Henry spends 2 hours on duty, drives for 2 hours, and then takes a 30-minute break. After that break, he drives for 8 hours. He only has 1 more hour until his destination, but he must now take another 30-minute break before he can keep driving. He decides to use this break period to complete other on-duty activities. Off-duty time in the passenger seat. Resting in a parked commercial vehicle can be counted as off-duty time. This off-duty time can count towards your 30-minute break, as long as it is at least 30 consecutive minutes. However, traveling in a moving commercial vehicle always considered on-duty time unless you are part of a team. When you are driving as part of a team, you may rest up to 3 hours in the passenger seat of a moving commercial motor vehicle under the following conditions. This rest must take place immediately before or after 7 consecutive hours in the sleeper berth. Any time after the 3 hours is logged as on duty, not driving. This lets team drivers keep the truck moving by having one driver operate the vehicle for 10 hours, including the 30-minute break, while the second driver can have a full rest period without having to stay in the sleeper berth for 10 straight hours. In this module, you learned: the regulations have 2 basic parts: the rules that cover how much time you can work, and the ELD, or paper-based logbook, where you record your duty status. When you are involved in interstate commerce or transporting hazardous materials, you must follow the regulations. The record of duty status contains 3 major parts: driver and carrier information, the duty status grid, and remarks. The 4 duty statuses included in the duty status grid are on duty, driving, off duty, and sleeper berth time. Drivers have a 14 consecutive hour duty period that begins after 10 consecutive hours off duty. During that time, you may drive for 11 hours with a minimum 30-minute break. You must take a break after 8 hours of driving time if you wish to continue to drive, but you can also take one sooner. You can satisfy your break requirement with any non-driving activity, including other on-duty activities. Drivers must make sure they log their on-duty and off-duty time properly. There are a number of on-duty activities that include but are not limited to any waiting, loading, traveling as a passenger, repairing or waiting for assistance, or even participating in giving or receiving training or providing specimens for a drug or alcohol test. Drivers must ensure that they assume any unassigned driving time by following their ELD prompts, keep their logs current up to the last change of duty status, and keep supporting documents on hand. These documents must be provided to the carrier within 13 days. The driver must be able to produce the records of duty status for the current day and the previous 7 days when an inspector requests them.